what you need to know about credit. What if I told you that no matter what your credit standing is at the current moment, that there's a way to improve your scores if you just had the knowledge base? You're not going to want to miss this episode. In this episode, we're going to talk about those different areas of your life that are impacted by credit. Next, I'll give you some insider tips on how to manage and improve your credit. And finally, I'll share some credit facts with you that you may or may not know that are keeping your credit scores down. So whether you're a seasoned credit guru like myself that has 800 plus scores, or if you're somebody that has a brand new credit profile and is just getting started, know that credit scores matter no matter what stage of the game that you're in. Initially, it's going to be important to actually know where you stand, and a vast majority of the population does not regularly check their credit. They have no idea of their actual credit standing. They've got no idea what their credit scores are. They don't know if the information listed on their credit report is actually accurate, and they really don't understand what creditors are looking for when it comes to credit. Now, what I do like is that has changed over the last decade. With free sites like Credit Karma, Capital One's Credit Wise, a lot of credit card processors are now starting to educate consumers of what credit looks like. While those free services do serve the purpose, there's also paid services that can really help you in your credit journey. The first step is going to be to know what's on your credit and to manage your credit like you would anything else. It should be checked regularly. I'm always trying to figure out how to better improve my credit profiles, my utilization correct. If I get an alert that somebody pulled my credit, did I actually pull that credit? Now for me, I have all the credit bureaus locked down. So any kind of alert that isn't with an account that I already have, for me at least, I know is most likely going to be fraudulent. So there's plenty of good paid services out there. In the link in the description below, there's a service that we like to use for our clients. It's called Smart Credit. It provides a tri-merge report, and it will also provide your credit score. There's other paid services out there. You don't necessarily have to pay for credit monitoring. Credit Karma is probably a good place to start, but there's problems with services that you don't actually pay for. They're not designed to just give you free information. They've got to pay for those reports they pull from the credit bureaus. Yes, Credit Karma is paying for you to see your credit, right? So how are they doing that? Well, obviously they're monetizing off of you, right? They're giving you little tidbits of information to get a credit card, to get a vehicle, when it's time to apply for a mortgage, and all kinds of other things that they're marketing to you. Not to mention, they're most likely siphoning off your information and selling it to big data brokers. So it's in my opinion that it does make sense to spend the extra $30, $40 a month credit monitoring service that's going to allow you to see what's on your tri-merge report, manage your scores, and then also that's going to give you alerts when anything happens to your credit. So managing your credit is going to be a good first step to establishing really good credit. You got to know what's happening in order for you to grow excellent scores. Most people don't realize this, but credit impacts every aspect of your life. Did you know that in terms of insurance, vehicle insurance, they're going to pull an insurance credit score on you, okay? It's going to be a soft pull with the bureaus anytime you apply for any type of insurance, especially auto loan insurance. Now, if your credit scores are under a 580, did you realize that people pay 3 times the premiums of somebody who has a 700 score? Yes, that's correct. You're going to pay 3 times what somebody else with excellent credit is going to pay for the exact same vehicle and the exact same coverage. And you may be asking yourself, why is that person paying so much more? Well, they've done studies. They've shown that there's higher risk with people that have lower credit scores. Now, when it comes to applying for a job, did you know that a vast majority of employers are going to pull your personal credit when they do a background check on you? This goes into their overall decision as to whether or not they're going to hire you. Many clients approach my company, and this happens quite a bit. They work for the government and their review is coming up. So if they've had issues in the last few years, then their employer, in this case the government, is going to find out about that. And that's going to be a problem, especially in terms of security. Your positions that require higher levels of security oftentimes take issue with charge-offs and collections. And the reason is because if you're at a high level of security working, especially for a government or the top level of a company, they don't want you to be open to persuasion by another party when it comes to money. And they feel like if there's a charge-off or collection or issues, that there could be a potential breach in a person's integrity. And of course, having good credit affects your financial security. The truth is that I don't know of anybody who has not had financial issues in their entire lifetime. But if you've got excellent credit and you've built out your credit, let's say you lose that job and you have to use your credit cards to float you for a couple months so that you can pay all your bills, everything's being met, your family's being fed while you find that new job. It takes excellent credit to make that happen. Okay, so what exactly is going to be on a credit report? Most people don't realize, but there is a whole lot more information on a credit report than you might think. It also has a lot of personal information. It's got all of your old addresses, it's got variations of your name, it's got your social and other personal data. Additionally, your credit report's going to show every time that you've applied for credit. It's called a hard inquiry. The rule of thumb for hard inquiries is not to have too many in a year. It's reasonable to apply for credit once or twice or maybe 3 times in a year, but anything more than that's going to be considered high risk. So as a rule of thumb, what I always recommend for our clients, and especially when we onboard them, is that you lock down all of your information. You freeze the credit bureaus, you freeze all the secondary databases that house your personal information, because it's not just the credit bureaus that are pulling your personal information. There's secondary databases, LexisNexis, SageStream, Innovis. For the most part, that is public record. So you can actually go to LexisNexis, which is now SageStream as well, and you can pull your personal information, and what you find on that may shock you. Of course, one of the most important things that you can do to have good credit is pay your bills on time, right? But that's not the only thing that's important. If you max out all your credit cards, it's going to plummet your personal credit score. Now, on the business side of things, your paydex score from Duns & Bradstreet only goes from 0 to 100, and the only thing they're concerned about is that you're paying your bills on time or you're paying your bills ahead of time. But as far as your personal credit is concerned, it's not only if you pay your bills on time, there's a lot of other things that go into that whole matrix. We've already discussed inquiries, paying your bills on time, the amount of utilization you carry on your credit cards, how much of your student loans you've paid off, how much of your car note that you've paid off, how much of your mortgage that you've paid off. There's a lot of different factors that get figured into your personal credit report. Before we get into some credit facts that you may not be aware of, please like and subscribe to my channel. I'll be working hard to bring you relevant content over personal finance, business lending, business funding, personal credit, and a variety of other relevant topics. Now, some things that I want to talk about that can absolutely destroy your credit or absolutely help your credit. And people really get caught up in certain cycles. And one of those is using credit cards as if a credit card is cash, right? So remember, a credit card is not cash. Cash is cash. It's very easy to spend and swipe and spend and swipe and not track what you're spending. The key is, when you have your credit cards, is to make sure that you're monitoring all your credit accounts. Now, if you've got 3, 4, 5 different credit cards, it can be very difficult to do that. So I use an app called Mint. Mint is a QuickBooks product, and it allows me to pull in all of my accounts, all of my investment accounts, all of my loans, credit cards, everything into just the one app, so that I can pull up that app and I can see exactly where I stand for the month. And I use that app daily. I'm always checking to see what's going on. Next thing is, if you're gonna use a credit card, at least go for the credit cards that have cashback options and have significant perks. I myself have a lot of different credit cards, and yes, I use credit cards instead of my debit card. I'm not a fan of using my debit card. That's where my cash is held. And I don't want to be using that all around town, just in case of hacks and problems. It's harder to get money back if somebody hacks your bank account as opposed to a credit card account. So credit cards are going to be easier to use, and also a lot of them come with perks. I've seen recently 2% cash back. Essentially, you're getting 2% for every dollar that you spend, which is significant. That means that if I'm using cash, I'm actually losing money. My favorite types of perks cards are going to be Chase. They have some amazing perks cards. Also, Chase provides higher limit credit cards, some of the highest limit credit cards you'll find. American Express obviously has some of the best perks, but make sure that you're looking not only at the APR, but also what perks the cards will give you. Now let's talk about debt for a moment. We've been taught in our lives that debt is a bad thing, and I'm here to tell you that it's a balancing act, right? Debt isn't necessarily a bad thing. Taking on too much debt can be a bad thing. But if you've got an income, let's say you're making $50,000 a year, you can leverage your excellent credit along with your income to do some pretty cool things in your life, provided you do it responsibly. What about in an economic downturn like we're seeing right now in the States? It started to happen in 2022 and 2023. We're almost certain we're going to go into a recession. We're almost certain that there's going to be more layoffs from the big companies. The trick is to make sure that you have enough credit and your position so that if something bad happens, you have the ability to float yourself over the next few months. Make sure that you prepare yourself in case something happens. Again, I'm not talking about saving 6 months of bills. 90% of Americans don't have that and don't do that. But what I am talking about is, okay, I have a certain amount of credit that is always available to me in case my car breaks down, in case I lose my job, in case I have other issues going on in my life.